Thank you. As you can see, the title of my presentation is Sexuality and Secret Intimacy, Negotiating Sexual Relationship Amongst Nepalese Young People in the UK. But I will start with introducing myself, and then I will say more about my PhD study, and then I'll talk about this one within my PhD study context. So, my name is Rajeeb. I'm a senior lecturer in public health and health promotion at Canterbury Christchurch University. I'm originally from Nepal. I'm a medical doctor and have completed my master and doctorate studies in public health. I completed my medical degree in Republic of Georgia and postgraduate studies in the United Kingdom. In today's lecture, I will be discussing about sexuality and secret intimacy. I will be talking about how Nepalese young people negotiate their sexual lifestyles and relationships within the Nepalese families and wider Nepalese society. This discussion is part of my PhD study, but I will start this lecture with my reflective account that motivated me to undertake my PhD study. I will discuss the methodology of my PhD study and provide a quick overview of the findings from my PhD study. And then the overview of the findings would provide the context of this particular study, which is about sexuality and secret intimacy. So, professionally, I left Nepal at the age of 19 to study medicine. As a young person, when I visited Georgia to study medicine, I was overwhelmed by observing different form of lifestyles and sociocultural environment of Georgia. These were, to my assumption, Western lifestyles where discussions and expressions about sex and relationships was very normal. But as a Nepalese young man, I did not have any education, sex education before this in schools, nor any conversations about sexual activities or sexual relationship within my families or within any familial environment. The limited discussions which I had with my friends and friend circle were often limited to the attractiveness towards female bodies, female persons. Therefore, these new observations in new country was very challenging for me, and to adapt to that environment was challenging at various times. But by the time when I left Georgia at the age of 25 to come to the United Kingdom, I felt I had understood the Western lifestyles in the context of sex and relationships. But when I came to the United Kingdom, I was again at the crossroads of constructing my identities towards sexual lifestyles and relationships. I felt my sexual expressions or sexual experiences were affected by various sociocultural factors, individual factors, and economic factors. I had to regularly balance my sexual lifestyle and relationships against my individual feelings and against the collectivist feeling which was towards my family, towards my culture, towards my society, towards my religion. So there was always that conflict between how I felt myself as an individual and what responsibility I had within a Nepalese community and how I portrayed that one. Although I was aging at the age of 25, I was aging into the emerging adulthood, I noticed that the sexual behavior and practices of Nepalese young people during emerging adulthood in the United Kingdom was very different from what I had personally experienced in my stay during Georgia, and possibly this was because of the different socio-cultural environment which is in the United Kingdom that was different from what was in Georgia, because United Kingdom was more sexual, there is more sexual freedom in the modern society of the United Kingdom. In my experience, the differences in social and cultural and economic factors seem to have a greater impact on the sexual lives of Nepalese young people who are living in the United Kingdom. this context or this sort of like background motivated me to conduct a PhD study about sexual health, lifestyle, and relationships of Nepalese young people in the United Kingdom. Hence, I conducted my study, which was titled Positive Sexual Health and Ethnographic Exploration of Social and Cultural Factors Affecting Sexual Lifestyles and Relationships of Nepalese Young People in the United Kingdom. The purpose of this research was to investigate young people's changing leisure lifestyles and relationships against various socio-cultural factors or various structural factors at familial and extrafamilial levels. The aim was to create an understanding about the sexual lives of young people in the modern contemporary society of Great Britain through the eyes and voices of the Nepalese young people who were living in the United Kingdom. The objective of this research was not to generalize my findings among all the Nepalese population, but to investigate and negotiate the variations among the Nepalese populations, how they were experiencing or how the sexual health of different people within the environment, within the sort of like environmental context of the United Kingdom, the experiences were different from each other. I was supervised by Professor Sam Blackman, who is the Professor of Cultural Studies, and Professor Douglas McInnes, who was the Professor of Mental Health, and the panel was chaired by Professor Adrian Holiday, who is Professor in Applied Linguistics and Intercultural Education. There, I'm very thankful to them for supporting me throughout the study. Their experience and their sort of like enrichment in the knowledge and understanding about the interdisciplinary approach to my research helped me to complete this study for me. Now, before I move forward, I believe it is important for me to give you a brief overview of Nepalese population in the United Kingdom. To give you a general consensus, the UK census in 2001 reported about 6,000 population in the United Kingdom. But by the time 2011 census, the population was increased by 1,000 folds. So that was about 1,000 folds, and that increased up to more than 60,000 people. The increase was possibly due to the settlement rights of Gurkhas in 2004, where the government granted the settlement rights of all the British Gurkha soldiers, and they came and resided to the UK with their children who came and lived with their families. The Nepalese population in the UK is predominantly comprises of retired British Gurkha soldiers and their families, and accounts to about 60% of total Nepalese population in the United Kingdom. Most of the young people in the UK belongs to the families of these British Gurkha soldiers, and they are the sons and daughters of these British Gurkha soldiers. Most of the young people, most of these Gurkhas are from the sub-ethnic groups from the caste such as Gurung, Limbu, Magar, Rai, Tamang, and Sunwar. The Central of National Studies UK survey identified people from 26 different ethnic groups in the UK. So 26 different ethnic groups from Nepal have residing to the United Kingdom. The name which I made about like this Limbu, Magar, Rai, Gurung, and Sunwar are few of them, but the other ethnic groups comes from Bahun, Chetri, Nebar, Thakuri, and people from Madesi and Dalit origin. These other caste people, they have come to the UK mostly as students, as restaurant worker, as skilled professionals, and they have settled into the UK after the rule of visa changes in the early 2000s from the UK government, and that was the time when they came to the UK, and that's the reason there is a huge increase in the number of population between 2001 and 2011. Although people from different castes have their own languages, and most of them share and speak Nepali language as the national language, and that brings them together as a Nepalese within the United Kingdom context. Most of them affiliates themselves with either Hinduism or Buddhism, and many of them practice both religions, so duality in the religion or paired religion. Buddhism followers in Buddhist followers within the Nepalese communities in the United Kingdom is much more higher than that in Nepal. In Nepal, it is about like 8%, but in United Kingdom, it's around 40% of them will be following, Nepalese population will be following Buddhism. For Nepalese young people, the socio-cultural and religious affiliations plays an important role in shaping their sexual lifestyles and relationships. But the limited statistics what we have about Nepalese young people is very vague, and it is estimated that about 25% of the total population of Nepalese population belongs to the age group of 15 to 24. So if we estimate about like 60,000 of total Nepalese population, which was in 2011, then about 25% of that population belong to the Nepalese young people group. That means like it is a huge population, and that is increasing day by day, because those who came in 2004 after the settlement rights, their children or their sons and daughters have grown up, and now they are in their early teens, and that's the reason that population age group 15 to 24 are increasing further again and again. More than that. Now moving on to my methodology of my PhD study. The methodology used for my PhD study was ethnography and biography. This approach captured the experiences of what people said and did, and brought multiple realities of socially constructed meanings by interpreting the complexity of participants' life and that existed within their social environment. My aim as an ethnographer for this study was to highlight the importance of studying young people behavior in the context of cultures and subcultures in order to understand social, cultural, and traditional rules, norms, and routines in the contemporary society of the United Kingdom. I studied real perceptions and experiences of Nepalese young people by observing them in private spaces of nightclubbing, as well as in the open public spaces and community spaces, particularly in and around Plumstead area and Woolwich area, which is southeast London. The connection between ethnography and biography in this research strengthened the information collected through the fieldwork observations with the subjective experiences of young people that was collected through the in-depth interviews and gave them the voice in their local context. Although ethnography and biography constitute distinct methodologies, the ties that bound them together was that they share common concerns with communicating lived experiences through writing, narrating, and representing lives of common people in the society through stories, report, and voice of those people. The research data for my PhD study included in-depth interviews from 16 participants, which included 7 females and 9 males, a total of 16 participants aged 16 to 24. In addition to the ethnographic data, I had also collected data from nightclubbing, observation in the nightclubbing, and observations from the local community of Plumstead and Woolwich area. Now, on the basis of this methodology, this was my findings. So based on my research finding, I attempted to present an analytical framework in order to bring a coherent understanding of the social and cultural issues at individual, familial, and extra-familial levels that would provide enough space to adapt to the nature of the social and sexual realities of the young people in their given environment. The model discusses various factors within different categories, as you can see in the diagram, that converge at multiple levels to shape the sexual health, lifestyle, and relationship of young people in the United Kingdom. It is important to note that these factors, whichever is listed in that model, are not explicit, and the model does not discuss all the factors that would possibly have an impact on positive sexual health of Nepalese young people. For today's lecture, I'm going to focus on the relationship aspect of of this model in the context of individual and familial factors such as sexual communication, parental connectedness, gender roles, marriage, nightclubbings, and also in the familial context, discussion about religion and discussion about sexual matters within the families. So that'll be it. Now, moving on to the topic, around the world, sex is still the most private and sacred matter for many of the individuals around the world. For Nepalese society, which is a closely knit community and where traditional norms of sexual purity are largely valued and maintained before marriage, most of Nepalese young people like to keep their love life or sex life very sacred. Young people in this research often showed an initial reluctance in sharing their information or experiences regarding sex and sexuality. Like we see in the conversation with Bisal, you can see that he started talking about sex, but then suddenly it took quite a long time, and this is also like the bracket I've given here because this was a long conversation. And then towards the end of that conversation, he was like, oh yeah, I'm in a relationship. This is like, oh, it has been 3 months. Oh no, it has just been 1 month. So it's just trying to sort of like hide it and not present it like how whether he was in relationship or not. If yes, then what is the reality behind it? They don't want to discuss about that. Young people were often selective in choosing the information they wished to share. They were often insecure and unwilling to divulge details of their sexual lives to an unknown person or to someone who they felt they don't know enough. The uneasiness in discussing sexual lifestyle was evident during all the in-depth interviews. However, responding to the research participants and building rapport using a reflexive approach assisted me in unfolding the sexual experiences of Nepalese young people for the purpose of this research. Nepalese society still considers the discussion of sexual matters as taboo, and people often contemplate having minimal discussions around sexual matters, around sexual activities related to them. These sometimes include hiding their sexual feeling towards the opposite sex whom they love, and they are being reluctant in making the first move towards any relationship, as you can see in the conversation with Sapna and Asa, who are very reluctant even to make a move in confessing that they were in love with their boyfriend or with someone whom they love. Particularly, Nepalese women find it hard to make first move in a romantic relationship, and men are expected to make the first move to encourage females to go on dates or engage in relationship. This showed that the expectation and roles of males and females within a relationship is very different, even before the commencement of a formal dating and relationship. When men are assumed to be proactive and the pattern continues even when they are in the sexual relationship. Nepalese females, similar to most of the South Asian women, grow up in a patriarchal society where men are the decision makers and hold authority power within the family, while women have little power and choice to express their concerns. Although the traditional roles of men as initiator may not be important today due to the increasing gender disparities, the pattern still exists in modern day where Nepalese female feels it is not natural for them to be an initiator in a romantic relationship or a sexual relationship, which raises a wider issue about gender roles within a dating or romantic or a sexual relationship between male and females within the Nepalese community. If we go further, many Nepalese men and women in the UK had increasing adulthood transition period due to the focus on education and career, which delays their marriage, which means it creates opportunities for a romantic and dating relationship or sexual relationship. From my field work, it was noticeable that dating, relationship, and sexual intimacies were integral part of Nepalese young people's leisure and sexual lifestyle. Although attitude and experience of Nepalese young people towards dating, relationship, and sexual intimacy were generally positive. Its expression in the public spaces was very different compared to how it was presented in the private and confidential space. Despite the increasing popularity and acceptance of dating and romantic relationship among Nepalese young people, many preferred to remain quiet and kept it secret to themselves, as seen in the conversation with Vishnu and Sagar. Young girls like Tulsi preferred to report sexual perceptions and experiences in a more general way or by using an intermediary channel, citing an example of friends or colleagues. So rather than they talking about their own sexual experiences, they felt more comfortable in talking sexual experiences of their friends, which may have reflected their experiences, but they don't say directly that it's their experiences. Nepalese young people preferred to remain secret about their relationship, but that was not always achieved, because the rumors within Nepalese society can float quite quickly. As you can see, what Tulsi says but I have heard several girls, there were many girls who were in a relationship and who sleeps randomly with many boys, but it depends on us if we want to believe it or not. So this source of rumor is very, very common within the Nepalese society, and certainly, although they want to keep it secret, it will be expressed through the society to different people within the society. Within the society, many young people, within the society. Now, although many young people were initially reluctant in sharing their romantic relationship, once they started to discuss about their relationship, they revealed that they started dating at very early age. You can see from the example there, I first kissed at the age of 30, which means they started dating quite early. Vishnu, a 17-year-old male, discussed about his relationship with a girl from other ethnic group, and this is important. He's talking about his relationship with other ethnic group, and that's the reason you can see in the transcript he's talking about even sexual relationship. If it is with the same ethnic group, then that becomes very, very difficult, and I will reveal that further. And highlighted that intimacy needs to remain sacred, and therefore it was important to locate a private space. Similarly, Dinesh, as 18-year-old male, organized his romantic patterns around the working hours of his single parent. Many young people in this research described home as a perfect place for sexual engagement when other members of the family were absent. Possibly this was because they have limited affordability for the commercial private spaces due to financial constraints. Moreover, young people tend to create opportunities for sexual intimacy if they meet in private and confidential space, as this helps them to maintain secrecy within their relationships. As I've described earlier, young girls preferred to report sexual perceptions and experiences in a more general way by using an intermediary channel, and we can see in this transcript it is again repeated that Isa was talking her experiences, but very soon she went to talk about her friends when I asked about her experiences, and that used to be very normal with the female participants. Out of 7 female participants in my study, it was just one participant who reported that she was in a married relationship. The other 6 female participants were reluctant in discussing their own relationship and declined any association towards sexual intimacies. Generally, with a rapid response to my question, or with an increased voice intensity, as we can see in the conversation with Isa. As you can see, I asked, kisses? No, I've not kissed anyone until now. Sex? Quick response, no, it has never happened to me. That thing. She doesn't even want to say that. No, sex doesn't happen. No, that thing has never happened to me. And that was the response from most of the participants. However, they used friends as examples or as an intermediary channel to chat about sexual intimacies and romantic relationships. Interestingly, they looked relaxed while talking about the sexual experiences of their friends. Isa highlighted that there were various factors within this transcript. You can see she highlighted that there were various factors that would determine the sexual intimacies within a romantic relationship, such as self-determination, parental acceptance towards their parental acceptance and their attitudes towards dating and romantic relationships, length of the relationship during the duration of their stay in the United Kingdom, and other structural factors that will have impact on whether they decide to go for the sexual relationship or romantic relationship or not. The intersections of all these factors play an important role in determining sexual experiences and expressions of young people. In the example which Isa had cited, her friend was born and brought up in Hong Kong. Her parents had lived all their life, most of their life, in Hong Kong or United Kingdom. Possibly, this may be the reason why her friend was more independent and parents were less willing to interfere in daughter's life. Other individual factors, such as shyness in general or in initiating and maintaining interaction against young people, is associated with social difficulties in maintaining a quality relationship, with reduced communication competence, and as a result, young people are at increased risk of being rejected and victimized by their peers. Self-consciousness and low self-esteem play an active role in affecting young people's confidence in getting into romantic relationship or impede a dating process, making them hesitant in expressing themselves within the romantic relationship. The desire of young people to pursue romantic relationship is further diminished because of anxiety and fear that the relationship will be revealed to their parents or the wider Nepalese society. As we can see in conversation with Isa, this prompts them to decide to go for a date, but not on a single date, but date with their friends, because the fear, nervousness, or the fear is scared about if they will go on their own, their friends and family might find it, and that will have implications on her life. And that's the reason they try to go for a date with a group of friends that meet the familial expectation of not engaging in romantic relationship rather than arranging a meeting with a personal date. Now, sexual expectations, as we can see in conversation with Dibya, female participants continues to use intermediary channel to discuss about their sexual relationship and their expectations. From the fieldwork and interview data, it was clear that the expectation of young females within a romantic relationships were very different from young males. Young females looked for an emotional support to build relationships for a long-term commitment, whereas young males prefer to have sexual intimacies as a central feature within a non-committed short-term relationship. Nepalese young females see their body as culturally constructed, are cautious about sexual intimacy within a relationship, and prefer to delay sexual intercourse. Females expect romance in the form of feelings, expression of love, support, and emotional attachment, and prefer sex at the latter stage within the context of ongoing committed romantic relationship. Young female look for a committed relationship, and then they are prepared to engage in sexual activity if they feel it is required to sustain their relationship, whereas men want sex within a caring and trusting relationship to maintain the quality of the relationship. Nepalese young females often fail to challenge masculinity and are therefore expected to respond to the traditional patriarchal culture. The sexual compliance of female in order to maintain a romantic relationship, together with the shyness towards sexual intimacies, induce difficulties in communication, decrease responsiveness, and lower sexual interaction and satisfaction, affecting the quality of romantic relationship, which lead to the possibility of a breakup. This puts young female in further vulnerable position to how to interact within a romantic or dating relationship. Nepalese young males like Dinesh and Rishi described that lack of natural sexual compliance of women's priority for long-term and females' priority for long-term commitment within a relationship deters young males from getting into a romantic relationship with Nepalese women. Remember, I referred to the ethnic group, different ethnic group. So with different ethnic group, possibly getting into sexual relationship for Nepalese young boys were more easier than to getting into the sexual relationship with the females, as is stated by Dinesh and Rishi. Young males demonstrated their masculinity through actively seeking short-term sexual relationship without commitments to increase their number of sexual partners, while females were expected not to engage in sexual activity and behave as a passive defender. And consequently, those permitting sexual intercourse were labeled as easy or slut and were not considered to be eligible for marriage. Although popularity of dating and romantic relationships has encouraged Nepalese young people to engage in premarital and extramarital sexual behaviors, in the dominant masculine culture of Nepalese society, women's sexual desire or sexual drive and motivation are often seen inferior compared to their male counterparts, and females experience double standard toward their sexual lifestyle, relationship, and particularly towards female virginity. Young females in this research regard their virginity as a valuable gift for a special person, and its loss is seen as rather complicated for them, and they are often concerned about managing this loss. Traditional Asian culture endures different forms and expectations for the sexual conduct for male and female, where female virginity is highly valued and therefore regulated more closely compared to the male virginity. The expectation of female virginity is integrated into Hindu cultural connection, where an important feature of Hindu marriage ceremony is Kanyadan, which refers to a virgin girl gift. This ritual ceremony is performed by a father figure where they gift the virgin daughter to the male who becomes her husband. Female virginity before marriage is still seen as an important sign of women's purity and is indicative of women's good character in dominant Nepalese patriarchal society. Dibya fears that if men come to know that female is not virgin, then they see the girl as bitch, and it increases the chances of breakup that is initiated by the male partner, and it diminishes their marriage prospects. The social process by which young females end up having multiple sexual partners are labeled as sluts and slags, while men with similar behavior are considered as studs. It is said by Liz, Dibya shows her frustration towards this double standard and suggests that the best way to protect virginity is to abstain from romantic relationship before marriage. However, she argues that if one finds the right person, then there is no difficulty in having sex with that special person. Young males in this research showed mixed reactions towards female virginity. A number of young males downplayed the importance of female virginity, raised concerns, and were critical about this double standard towards virginity, which is set by traditional socio-cultural Nepalese society in the modern contemporary world. However, there were some young people who were in relationship still expected women to be pure or virgin for the marriage. At times, as you can see in the quotes, at times young females like Dibya showed an indication of an emergence of a more independent and individualized girl. However, they also remember that they always have to negotiate around familial expectations to experience their independence from parents and from the society. The lifestyle choices such as evening outs, shopping, dinner, movies, drinks, night clubbing, dance clubbing, and other leisure activities that has any potential to bring male and female together without the supervision of their parents were not supported by parents. However, this did not stop them not having that interaction. It occurred beyond the watchful eyes of their parents in a secret manner. As seen during the conversation with Asa and Vishnu, young people's operations towards experiencing lifestyle and relationships are shaped by power relations practiced by parents to maintain discipline within the family setting. However, young males and females in this research showed that they had good understanding of parental expectations and concerns, which makes them to develop negotiating skills to create opportunities with an agreement that convince their parents to have those experiences. This includes making excuses for not disclosing their actual whereabouts. If young people perceive that the agreement with the parents will not be reached, then they will end up lying. Male participants often made excuses to protect their privacy and to stop being challenged by parents, whereas female participants were often challenged by parents and were asked to explain in more details about their whereabouts. Young people in this research suggested that Nepalese parents seek to maintain parental control to the highest possible level and therefore continuously seek to interfere with independent lifestyle choices of their young children. As a result, young people become reluctant to discuss their lifestyle choices, their sexual lifestyle, because of the fear that the family values and parental strictness would not respect their choice of lifestyles. Familial expectations and parental control does not stop them from engaging in relationships, but the fear of disapproval disconnects the family relationship and raises issues of trust within the familial environment. As you can see with this quote, with this conversation from Vishnu, young people in this research believe that parental expectations and strictness widens the trust issues within the family, which play a significant role in reducing parental connectedness and communication, any conversation related to sexual matters. Parents expect young people to stay away from risky lifestyle behaviors and sexual relationships. However, young people still get into relationships but keep them secret. Young people's activities and behavior cannot be monitored at all times by their parents despite parental continued efforts, because parents spend very little time with young people because of their other commitments of work commitments or space, time, and other family commitments. Parents' active efforts to control young people or repeated attempts to gain information about their whereabouts did not decrease the misbehavior. Rather, it made them more likely to reveal less information about their social interactions, about their sexual lifestyle, about their whereabouts. The complex interactions between various social structures at multiple levels contribute towards young people's experience of multiple identities in their everyday lives. So they will be acting as a different within the familial environment. At the same time, they will be acting very differently when they will be in the private and confined space. In the conversation with Vishnu, as you can see there, he describes how young people create their own private space, their own space to experience sexual lifestyle and relationship, and they negotiate it with their parents through restricting conversation on sexual matters, making excuses, telling lies to their parents. Vishnu is cautious towards disclosing his relationship status to his family, as he understands that the possible consequences would be outright family rejections and exclusion from the family. Although all form of masculinity contributes towards the production and reproduction of the male dominance in relation to the woman, masculinities also exist within a hierarchy to promote self-respect, especially within the powerful patriarchal society. And this was experienced between Vishnu as a male and his father as his parent. Nepalese young people understand that parents like to maintain their authority and control with their patriarchal power, and young people have little negotiating power against this. Therefore, young people prefer not to disclose their sexual lifestyle and personal relationship to their parents and like to keep it secret so that it remains to them. What does it do that? It decreases lack of parental connectedness. It sort of like decreases the parental connectedness, which disconnect them with their own family. As you can see, young people in this research claimed that conversation on sexual matters with parents were relatively infrequent and limited due to the unwillingness of detailed conversation about sexual lifestyle and relationships, as you can see in the conversation with Asa and Divya. Very, very limited conversation which will promote relationship between the parents itself. In most cases, young people confine themselves by merely responding to parents' questions. This may be because young people are expected to show good characters, good behavior, and respect elders within their family, rather than openly asking questions on sensitive topics like sexual health. It was found that young people are frequently uncomfortable about explicit conversation on sensitive topics, and conversations are avoided due to cultural taboo and to perpetuate family harmony. Particularly, young females' conversation on sexual matters with parents often create unfriendly environment within family and rejections and negativity around girls' reputation and behavior. Young people believe that parents make false assumptions if they initiate any conversation on the sexual matters. Nevertheless, women were more involved in communication on sexual matters compared to the males, and mothers were frequent communicators about sexual health topics within the familial environment compared to their father. However, young females were cautious and thoughtful in discussing personal relationship and private issues with their mothers because of possible consequences related to the disclosure of their personal relationship. Yet, many young people favored to discuss their relationship with their mother as early as possible, as you can see in the conversation with Isa. This was crucial to secure the backing with support within the family environment, because if they do not share that information with their family, then if they come to know, then they will reject it. Isa's decision to share the information about her sexual lives with mother is the direct consequence of her failed romantic relationship that she did not disclose to her mother. But friends and relatives revealed this to the family in an unconventional way. Isa failed to convince her family, and she had to break up due to the expectations and strictness of the family. Isa realizes that family expectations and importance of parental support is central to her sexual development, and she has decided to negotiate this challenge by sharing her personal relationship or personal information with her mother to seek permission to get in any personal romantic relationship or to continue any romantic relationship. So this is another way of asking permission whether I can get into the relationship or not. girls' life within the Nepalese society is very sensitive within the Nepalese society. Young females in this research illustrated that sexual life of young females in the Nepalese society is sensitive and insecure, where rumors of any wrongdoing can have potential impact on the search of their prospective spouse, for future relationships and marriage. These rumors often cause serious concerns, creating anxiety and panic for young peoples or young females and their family. I describe this phenomenon as a ripple effect, where rumors about sexual lifestyle of young people, young females, create waves of gossips in the societal network. Although Nepalese young people do not like the tradition of rumors, it can spread very quickly and they have little or no control over it, and therefore they discipline their own behavior through self-surveillance to secure themselves from falling into the trap of this ripple effect. As I had demonstrated earlier with the conversation with Tulsi, they just reveal it and it leaves to the people to think like whether this is right or wrong, but the ripple is already there, ongoing. Women's sexuality is central to the way she is judged and seen by herself and others in everyday social life. The rumors or reality about women's sexual lifestyle and relationship, which is seen beyond the traditional and sociocultural norms, creates a ripple that can intensify and broadens the negativity about women's character at every level. It was found that people in Nepalese society tend to add their individual perceptions and judgment to sensitize the information before passing it to the other individual. And the process continues until the ripple creates maximum negativity around the female characterization within the familial environment and within the Nepalese society. Their young people's certain lifestyle behavior may be accepted within the familial environment, like possibly speaking about their sexual, their sort of like dating. It may be accepted within the familial environment, but there is a continuous concern about how such behavior would be judged within the wider Nepalese community or society, and the rumors about any of those judgments can be spread very quickly that can bring negative impact on the individual as well as on the family reputation, and that can affect even parents. Young females believe that even parents are aware of the ripple effect and are worried about the reputation and dignity of their family. Nepalese families, like other South Asian families, are often influenced by home context where religious obligation, cultural tradition, societal expectations, and maintaining family honor and faithfulness is key to shape their role in shaping their sexual lifestyle and behavior. Young females in this research wished to express their lifestyle and sexual freedom, which create conflict with the conventional thinking of the Nepalese society, putting young females at higher risk of negative characterization and making them vulnerable to the risky behaviors. Despite all the familial expectations and sociocultural norms, Nepalese young people in the contemporary society of the United Kingdom have found ways to experience their sexual lifestyles and their leisure activities. One of the examples are increasing number and popularity of nightclubbing events. The increasing number of clubbers have created demand for such nightclubbing events, and in current times, these Nepalese nightclubbing events are organized more often and getting bigger and bigger. need to highlight, when I'm talking about night clubbing events, these are specific Nepalese night clubbing events where about 90% of young people present there, or 95% of people present there, will be from Nepalese ethnic group. So they will be specifically for the Nepalese population. It occurs in the event of like Nepalese New Year, or in the celebration of Dasai festival, or in the celebration of any other festival. And those numbers of night events are increasing day by day, and the involvement of the participants within those night events, Nepalese night clubbing events, is increasing more and more over the years. Young people's increasing night clubbing experiences have brought changes in attitudes and behavior towards night clubbing and engagement of sexual lifestyle behavior and their experiences. Night clubbing, Nepalese night clubbing event today are seen as a private space for sexual intimacy. My observation in the nightclub showed that in this private and confined space, Nepalese young people looked very individualistic, comfortable and free, willing to explore their hidden identities, where they chilled out, consumed alcohol, smoked cigarettes, used drugs, danced to the music, met new people, and socialized with friends that shared a common interest in partying all night. The combination of assumed private space with freedom, live music, intoxicating agents, use of drugs, and presence of opposite sex created a positive and favorable situation to build sexual intimacies and relationships. Young people took every opportunities to meet and engage with other common friends to expand their friendship network in search for companionship and relationship. Besides couples, most of the people that had come to the nightclub were in groups with their friends or with their siblings. The couples from these groups were very soon lost in the crowd, and friends, they left by their friends to find a private, these young people, these couples were left by their friends to find a private spaces in the corners of the nightclub to experience their sexual intimacies through holding, hugging, caressing, kissing, and fondling. As the night progressed, all the areas of the nightclubs were filled with lovebirds, and this is my observation of that nightclub. Nepalese young people in the nightclub were seeking to enjoy the night full of freedom without thinking about their family, society, culture, or religion. They were the new generation of young people, enjoying togetherness and expressing sexual freedom in the contemporary nightlife of London. Young people looked fearless as they had created this confined space for themselves, which was private, confidential, and sacred. Besides heterosexual couples, there were scenes where boys were seen showing intimacies towards each other. Although no signs of sexual intimacies among girls were seen during my observation, the prospect of lesbians among the Nepalese clubbers could not be ignored. It looked like homosexual couples, similar to the heterosexual couples, were unfazed by the onlookers or other people around them. However, they were unlikely to disclose their sexuality outside these closed doors because of the backlash and fear from the family and the wider Nepalese society. None of my research participants identified themselves as homosexual. This may be possibly because young people were unwilling to disclose their sexual identity about homosexuality. Homosexuality amongst the Nepalese population is an important issue, but it remains unexplored. Clearly, additional research is required to understand the perceptions of the United Kingdom Nepalese LGBT population towards their sexual lifestyle and relationship. To conclude, I would like to say that among Nepalese young people, sex and sexuality remains a taboo, which creates a struggle from them to negotiate their sexual lives within Nepalese family and wider Nepalese society. Sexuality and romantic relationships are private and sacred matters for majority of Nepalese young people, since sexual relationship outside marriage is considered inappropriate. Although attitude and experiences of Nepalese young people towards dating and relationship and sexual intimacies were generally positive, gender roles played a significant role in determining how they will view and experience their sexual lifestyle and relationships. Familial expectations or parental control does not stop them engaging in relationships, but the fear of disapproval disconnects the family relationship and raises issues of trust within the familial environment. The lifestyle choices that has any potential to bring males and females together often occurred beyond the watchful eyes of their parents in a secret manner. Nightclubbing as a private space for sexual intimacy was seen as one of the examples. Thank you very much. Thank you.